What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 68 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, what we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read in the show, go to readyplaynetwork.com or hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter and TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is April 30th, 2021. I'm your host, Daniel Lima, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Louis Menchaca.
Dan, I tried to, pull the same thing on you, but better. So
Yeah, but it didn't work out. I felt like you were adding to the show. Like you were almost like doing like some
pantomiming.
you were adding visuals to an auditory experience, which is me reading the intro of the show. But it's always good to try something different, to see something different going on.
I think I'm gonna have to learn how to sign language the whole intro, just so that way I can do it, and then that way you can
Yeah.
see see
So
it.
we could make the podcast more inclusive. You
Exactly.
know, it's interesting. That's actually a thing that's very common in Brazil that I don't know if it's as common in here, but a lot of TV programming in Brazil will have simultaneous sign language on the corner of the TV as you're watching it, like stuff that's on like open TV and stuff like that. And I don't think I ever see that here, although I haven't really watched, TV here in forever.
It only happens during press conferences that are being televised and stuff like that, where there's
Mhm.
somebody on the side. But one of those if President Trump was doing one of those briefings at the White House kind of thing, they'll have it. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, no. It's only for
Yeah.
those specific instances.
To be fair, it's not for everything either, but I just feel like I remember that I used to see it more often there on TV than I did here at the times that I did watch TV here. But the one thing that I saw actually, and this was during the pandemic, that there were a lot of musicians, a lot of artists in Brazil that were doing live streams and live stream concerts, just like they were doing here and all across the globe. And there were some that I ended up watching by proxy because I was with my brother, and my brother is really into certain musicians there right now, and he was watching their live streams. And for pretty much all of the musician live streams, they had somebody doing the sign language on the corner, which I thought that was one of the most fascinating things because there would be sign, I guess, signing the
The lyrics,
the
maybe.
lyrics of
Yeah.
the songs as they were playing them, but then they would also be jamming to the music. And the other thing too, I'm gonna go on this tangent for a little bit longer. So there was this one particular live stream that was a really long one. It was like a 6 hour live stream or something, 8 hour live stream or something.
Hmm.
And because it was so long, they had like four different sign language people that kept like replacing each other. And there was this one moment where which it shifted from like one song to the next, and they replaced the sign language person, and this guy comes in and he's just like ready to go. He's excited, he's practiced this a lot. And he got in there, and then the musician proceeded to basically just play like an instrumental song for the next like 5 minutes. It's just like this instrumental part playing, and you could tell how like stressed this person was that they didn't know what to do, and they're just like moving from one side to the other waiting for the song to start. Anyway, so
Wow.
you never know where things are going to go with Ready Press Play, as you can tell.
No, there was. I feel like I've seen someone of when I was watching the Philip DeFranco show or whatever, and there was this mayor of a city doing a press conference, and he was very angry with Donald Trump or whatever. This was a year ago,
Mhm.
and he there was he was really outraged and kind of yelling sternly into the mic kind of
Yes.
thing, and you can see the sign language guy giving them that lip. It
Yeah.
was so hilarious, and I was like, damn.
Yeah. I love it when they're able to convey the emotion, right? So that's always cool. All right, Louis, let's get on with the show.
All right.
Let's get to our first segment already.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry. I forgot about the sound effect.
He had one job, just so everybody knows.
Not a whole
Yeah.
lot going
So we
on
don't
now.
Yeah. No, we don't really have a lot going on this time. You know, Louis and I both have been busy. We haven't been playing too much, but we have been playing It Takes Two together on our Twitch channel. We don't want to talk too much about it because we've already done it for the past 2 weeks, and we don't want to blow our content from our future spoiler cast for this game. But I've continued to love it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's really all we got to say right now. Twitch.tv/ReadyPressPlay. Go there on Sundays around noonish. We've been starting it just like a smidge late, but it's fine. We go for about 2 hours on Sundays. You can catch the VODs on the Twitch channel for exclusively for 7 days, and then it'll be migrated over to the Ready Play Network YouTube channel. Over you, Dan.
Yeah.
Over you.
Good plug there. Good plug there. Yeah, on that aside, I've been continuing to play some of these games that have become kind of comfort I don't know, just kind of comfort food for me, like playing some Spiritfarer here and there, doing some Fire Emblem Awakening missions on my 3DS and all that stuff, but nothing really new to talk about necessarily. Now, Louis, I said that we're gonna keep the segment short, but fuck it. I'm gonna turn the segment into something else.
Okay.
Have you been watching anything cool recently?
Oh, wow, that's a nice one. I watched the Mortal Kombat movie, and I
Mhm.
also watched one episode of an anime, Demon Slayer. I'm gonna try to like binge watch it so that way I
Oh
can
yeah.
watch the movie in theaters, hopefully. So yeah.
You should definitely watch Demon Slayer. It has a really good like start, I feel like that first episode really like sets it going. Like it's not one of those shows where it's like, the show starts at like episode 10 or whatever. Like it pretty much like gets going from the beginning, and I feel like in many ways it gets better from there. It has its low points, but I loved it. I'm very excited for the future of it. And yeah, apparently that Demon Slayer movie, by the way, um is it the most popular foreign language movie in American cinema or something
Yes, I believe so.
at the box office?
I believe in the box office, it's the highest like opening weekend for a foreign language movie, and the second highest anime opening
Uh,
for an anime movie. The
huh,
first being Pokemon, the first movie.
interesting.
Yeah,
I would have never
surprisingly.
seen that being so popular, especially during the pandemic still, right? Like, I don't know. I would have expected no records to be broken this year. Until like things are back to normal. But nonetheless, that's cool. I've been watching some anime too. I'm actually watching Naruto, OG
Mm.
Naruto right now because I had watched all of OG Naruto already, and then I stopped somewhere in the beginning of Shippuden. And this wasn't when I was a kid when it was coming out. It was actually like a few years ago. And my wife Leah, who you guys know, had never watched any of it, and so I decided to try to get her into it a little bit and watch it again, and then hopefully get to the part where I stopped in Shippuden and then actually finish the show because a lot of people I know that are into anime, say like, you gotta watch Naruto. It's like the best or whatever. So, um, it's just one of those shows though that's like, it's I don't know. It has a lot of flaws too. And it's very like the OG Naruto is like it's very kiddie, and then there's a lot of things that you gotta kind of look past to be able to appreciate. It has a lot of build up. Like you got to be able to get through the 10, 15 episodes of build up for there to be a payoff a lot of times. So it's been an experience. Just something we've been watching here and there. Um, yeah, and I think that's actually about it. That's like all I've watched recently.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
stuff that I'm planning on watching is going to be this coming weekend. There's a movie coming
Mhm.
out on Netflix called The Mitchells versus the Machines. I want to watch that, and it's
Mhm.
about like a family, like a dysfunctional family that's trying to fight the robot apocalypse, where like all of like the
Mhm.
smartphones and stuff are taking over the world and stuff like that, and they're not a very good family as far as like being functional, and now they have to because they're the last family. Somehow they're the only family that didn't get captured and enslaved or whatever. So it's up to them to save the world. And
I would love to hear your thoughts on that after you've done watching it and everything. Is there anywhere where I can go to hear your thoughts on the movies you're watching, Lewis?
you know what, Dan? It just so happens that we have a movie podcast that I run.
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's called Ready Play Movies. And I'll have a link to it in the description of the show notes in this YouTube video. So there you go. Yeah, I'll be watching it, doing my thoughts on it when we talk about impressions for Ready Play Movies. I'll probably also watch that Michael B. Jordan movie. There's a movie coming out called Without Remorse on Amazon Prime. So basically, two movies for subscription services that I already own. So yeah.
Cool. And then plugging Ready Play Movies as well. I just want to throw in here that an opinion that I agree with you guys and that I feel very strongly about, and I feel like a lot of people do, is that the last Oscars, I can't believe that Chadwick Boseman did not win Best Actor. It feels like everything felt like it was set up for that to happen. They even left that award to be the last thing on the night. And they ended up giving it to Anthony Hopkins, who had already won an Oscar and wasn't even there to receive it because of their stupid rules, where he was willing to like he was willing to send like a virtual acceptance speech and stuff like that, but they didn't accept it. So because of that, he just went to bed. He found out he won the Oscar the next day, and I feel like even he himself, like spoke out in support of Chadwick Boseman, and it's just one of those things that like, dude, it sucks because it was the last. I'm not saying that just because the actor passed away that should guarantee that he wins an Oscar, but it was this guy's last chance to win an Oscar, right? And he
Yeah.
did have a pretty good performance. I did watch the movie. I thought the movie itself was not great, but he gave like a stellar performance in the movie. He portrayed the character as he should have. And I don't know, I felt it felt wrong to
Yeah,
me,
there's. I think ending the night on Best Actor. It was definitely a lose-lose situation where you can either it can go one of two ways. Chadwick wins the Oscar, or Chadwick doesn't win the Oscar. All right,
Mhm.
he doesn't win the Oscar, which is what happened. You guys look like fools. He does win the Oscar. You guys have the system rigged. That's literally.
Mhm.
It's like there's no good outcome.
Yeah.
And at least caveat, I mean, at least silver lining. Now we know the Oscars aren't rigged, and that when that envelope is sealed, we don't know the result until they announce it. So
Yeah.
at least
Yeah,
there's
I guess
that.
so.
So
Yeah,
and now we
I guess
know
so.
that the producers didn't actually know the results; they were just assuming the results, which makes them look like idiots. But yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways,
All right, Lewis. Let's move on here and do our weekly Fortnite segment.
all right. So for the battle
So what do you want
bus,
to do? Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
have two juicy topics, and you brought something to the table. But I got two juicy topics
Hmm.
to talk about for the battle bus. The first one up is a new skin that came out this weekend. It's for a soccer player. His name is Neymar
Hmm.
Jr. Dan, I know you're
I know
big
who
into
he is.
yeah, you're bigger into soccer than I am. I never heard of this guy, but is he like Brazilian or something, or because I mean, looking at
Yes.
his colors, these colors, I'm thinking Brazil.
Yeah, he is he's been kind of like the star Brazilian player from the last decade. And he played for Barcelona, which is like for a while was like the best team in the world basically. But then he doesn't play for Barcelona anymore. He's playing in Paris Saint-Germain now, which is a French team from Paris. And he's very successful, makes a lot of money. I believe either his sale to Barcelona or from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain was the biggest transaction in soccer history. So he's definitely a big deal. But I do see your point with something that you mentioned before, which is that like outside of Brazil, I mean, everybody would know him in Brazil, but outside of Brazil, I'm not sure non-soccer fans would know him in a way that so he hasn't become a popular mainstream figure to the level that somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo or
I was gonna say that name. Yeah, he's not.
yeah, or Lionel Messi or somebody like that. And it's mostly because he has never won the award for like best player in the world, which these other guys have. Usually the guys they reach that mainstream level are the ones that are recognized as like that is the top person in the world for that sport, right? Um, but regardless, he's pretty big. People in Europe are going to recognize him for sure. People in Brazil are going to recognize him for sure. I just feel like it's maybe a lot of people in the U.S. that don't, especially the ones that don't follow soccer, may not. I do want to say though, this kin to me is like super silly. I don't understand like how they go from like, oh, like famous soccer player, and then he turns into some kind of like uh Power Ranger or like Black Panther like figure, like not It's not a black outfit, but it's like, doesn't it almost
Yeah,
look
it
like the
just sounded
Black
like it
Panther
sort of like
outfit?
morphs and stuff into me, like yeah, like kind of like the
Yeah.
Black Panther, where it just like nanites just kind of like transform him. Yeah, it's definitely
And,
got that going on.
I can almost see, by the way, like, knowing this guy, like, I can imagine the interaction where, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm down. I'll be in the game." Maybe he even plays the game, I don't know. And, they come back and they're like, "Oh, we're kinda thinking about doing, like, this thing," and then, like, you turn into this thing, and then he probably just laughed and said, "Yeah, sure." Like, I don't know, but it's a little silly. I wanna get him, though, so there's some challenges to get him, and
It was a
I
pain.
tried to do that.
It was a pain
What?
in
Go
the
ahead.
ass. It was a pain in the ass. I actually did the challenges. It took me like
Mhm.
about 2 3 hours of like maybe actually about 2 hours I'd say of playing the game. It's both easy and hard at the same time. It's easy because you can literally spam the same challenges, but it's hard because everyone's trying to spam those challenges, which means that
Yes.
there's a lot of people like grouping in these like locations. Then they're like, there's one in one match, there was like literally 10 people all trying to go to the same spot. And everyone's killing
Yeah.
each other, and so you're like sort of screwed because you actually have to have skill to be the last man standing in order to even get to do your challenges. And that was the thing that was very painful to do it. And the reason, as far as taking so long, is because we lost so many matches that we couldn't even actually physically do the challenges because we were losing out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I logged in on the day where they released this, and then I tried to go do the challenges, but I didn't even come close to even getting to the location because I just kept dying really quick because of the amount of people doing the same thing. Yeah, like
Yes.
I would be like, oh, I'm gonna try this spot, and then like I would be like going down, and then the moment I landed, there would be like seven other people landing around me, and it was
Yep.
difficult. Then this one time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like land somewhere else. I'm gonna play the game for a bit, and then I'm gonna go to the location. And when I got there, the NPC was not there, like they'd been killed or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I it's not like I was trying it for hours. I just I tried it for like 3 or 4 matches and I couldn't do it. So I said, you know what, fuck it, I'll wait. I'll go when this is more peaceful. I'll be playing with my friends tomorrow, so maybe we'll try to do it together.
Probably better as
Um,
a team. But yeah, no, I
yeah.
was doing it as a duo. Me and my friend were doing it together, as far as like clearing the map, like the town, and then safely going to like the NPC to get our challenges. That was
Yeah.
usually like the better way to do it. And then the more we did it, it got easier because we got to the point where we just sort of got like a routine and like a specific way of doing it, and like landing at this particular place because we know a treasure chest will spawn. And yeah, it was a whole method. But yeah, so for anyone that we didn't say this specifically outright, but it is free to people who already own the battle pass. So if you're
Hmm.
already a battle pass person, then boom, you just you got the challenges. You just gotta unlock them. Once you get all the challenges done, you get all the skins and the emote and everything. Um, so if you don't have any skill, sucks for you because when you get in order to get the little Black Panther transformation suit, you have to do 3 kills as Neymar. So
Mm.
if you're not good at finding somebody out in the wild and killing them, and you're always dying, well, you need to get 3 kills. So um, there's that. And then the second thing I have on the agenda is a bit of a betrayal. So I don't know if you remember this, but I told you that I was not going to spend any more money on Fortnite at all until May 1st. And May 1st for us is like day of taping. It's 2 days away. Uh,
Mhm.
and I didn't do it. I didn't make it. I gave up. I caved, like with 7 days left on the finish line to go, a week away from May 1st. And it was because I ran out of V Bucks, and of course I was being very stingy with my V Bucks, right? But I ran out. I was down to like 400 V Bucks, and I was like, oh, I want to buy the skin, but it's like 2,300 V Bucks or whatever. And the
What
skin,
skin did you buy though?
it's a skin where it's like black, and it was exclusively made available over the weekend. It's all black, and I'm talking about like a shadow. It's like a shadow, gooey, like a
Mm.
Guiji kind of thing. And when you kill somebody, he like activates. He's like a reactive, and he has like a blue soul inside of him, like kind of like hovering. And so
Mhm.
like the more kills you get, like the more blue orbs pop up and stuff like that, and your gun and everything. It's very cool. It's like a little like a gooey shadow creature thingy, and I thought he looked dope, so I just went ahead and just spent the $80 and got like all the V bucks, and then I went to town, and I'm down to like I think you gave me like 13,000 V bucks whenever I like bought it, and now I'm down to like 5,000 V bucks, and yeah, I got a problem, but I'm gonna try to keep this going. So my next goal: don't spend any more money until June 1st. We'll see how that goes. Because usually, before this whole thing happened, I was doing $80 twice a month. So I was doing like 160 per month. So if I can get it down to 80 a month, and maybe we can just sort of like, like cut it, like slowly wean myself off of this addiction. So, but yeah, not too bad though. I almost made it. I almost made it the full round. So just as my payment is due for the TV and everything. So
Louis, you gotta do it like, one day after the other. And if situations like this happen, they happen with everybody. And then as long
relapse.
as you, yeah, it's a relapse, exactly. As long as you start again, tomorrow, it's a new day, and you can always try again.
Yeah,
Don't,
thank you.
as long as you don't just give up on it, and you go put all your savings onto this game,
Yeah.
then
Hopefully,
it
yeah,
should be fine.
yeah. Hopefully things aren't they're things are like clear as far as like the store goes. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but over the weekend, this past weekend, they made every single emote that's called the Icon series available. It was like for like the whole 3 days or 4 days or whatever. So every cool like dance emote that you could ever want. It was like from Gangnam Style
I
and
saw all the
yeah.
dances. Yeah.
Yeah, that's those are some A1s and stuff like that. So I have every one of those.
I
Uh,
have yet, by the way, with the exception of like getting the battle pass once and then the Fortnite crew subscription for a month. I have yet to buy anything from the store, even with the V bucks that I've gotten. So like I have like 2,000. I think it's like close to 2,000 V bucks right now that I'm just sitting on. That I have never. I didn't buy Aloy. I didn't nothing. Mm-mm. I,
wow, oh my
I
God.
figured I had the V bucks to buy Aloy and I didn't because I figured why. I don't even I haven't even played the game. I have no attachment to this character.
That is true. That's
What?
true. You could
Yeah,
always get something better. Yeah, that is true. I'll give you that.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
part of the appeal about Fortnite, by the way, is just being able to floss or not floss, being able to stunt. You can't.
yeah.
You gotta like be able to like show. It's like, oh, I got these cool dances, I got these cool skins. You gotta show off kind of thing. It's
You
literally
you know
about
what's
stunting.
funny? There's something about like personality there where it's like I never really resonated with that kind of like I'm the kind of person that will have something cool and will hide it because like I don't want people to know that I have it. Like that's I'm not a show off. But anyway,
It's yeah.
let's
Yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and move on to your story here. You brought to the table something from The Verge. It says
yeah.
here,
Shout
Fort.
out.
Go for it. Go for it. Go
I'm
for it.
hosting the show. God damn
Sorry,
it.
sorry, sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. I'm just sorry, Liz. I just had to do it. So shout out to my friend Victor who actually brought the story to my attention because I wasn't aware of it. It didn't come up in my feeds. I don't think this is really getting a lot of attention, but Fortnite's cash cow is PlayStation on iOS court documents review is reported by Jay Peters for The Verge. So basically, there's been some documents that leaked from Apple and Epic. Their dispute in court right now over releasing the cut that Apple gets from everything released on their storefronts. And I thought this was very interesting because this tells us basically the percentage of revenue, how the revenue of Fortnite splits across the different platforms. And they say that PlayStation 4 generated 46.8% of Fortnite's total revenue, so almost half of it. For the record, this is for a period from March 2018 through July 2020. While the Xbox One, the second highest platform, generated 27.5%, and iOS ranked fifth with just 7% of total revenue. The remaining 18.7% would have been split between Android, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Now, I wish we could see how it splits between these three platforms, but it wasn't included in the article here, and maybe we'd have to go through everything else, through the actual source of this to find it. But this really caught me off guard, Louis. I would have never guessed that's how the split was. Number one, well, actually, you know what? What do you think? What do you think of this?
I'm a little surprised because like I would have assumed that mobile is, since it's more convenient and there's more devices, there's more proliferation of, everyone having a smartphone, that not to mention like with kids and stuff like that. So people, I've been hearing
Hmm.
stories about kids playing Fortnite while in school kind of thing, and it was a distraction and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a little surprised on that. But also it just goes to show that, console hardware is where it's at, as far as like, that's where people would choose or want to have their game time at, is, a good high quality like console like experience, instead of, a mobile touchscreen experience. So I guess I should not be surprised in that aspect, that people would go out of their way to choose to play it on their terms.
Hmm. So we may not have the full breakdown of the numbers here, but what we can tell based on this is that there's three buckets here, right? Like there's like bucket one, which is PS4. That's the biggest bucket. It's like half of the player base, basically, or the revenue, right? Doesn't mean that it's the player base, but the revenue. And we got bucket two, that's Xbox One. And then we got bucket three that has all of these things together: iOS, Android, Switch, and PC, all likely individually making less than 10%, significantly less than 10% potentially out the revenue. Now let's go through the way, like, things that surprised me about this. Number one, I'm surprised Xbox One is so high, actually. I'm not joking. Because how many PlayStation 4s exist in the wild
Over
right
a
now?
hundred million.
It's about 115 million. I checked. How many Xbox Ones exist in the wild right now?
Estimates have
We
it around 40 million.
Yeah, right. So that's about a third. There's about a third as many Xbox Ones than there are PlayStation 4s. So if the Fortnite audience was proportionally split between the two consoles, then and 46% was the revenue for PS4, then we should have expected to see something like 15% for Xbox One as opposed to 27. So that means that Fortnite players are disproportionately playing more on Xbox One, actually. Oh, or what I should say is, like, there's a higher percentage of Xbox One players that are playing Fortnite than there are PlayStation 4 players that are playing Fortnite,
Yeah.
because of that disparity, which I thought was interesting. Number one, or it could be that they're spending more money, actually. Uh, then number two is PC is really low. I would have expected PC to be much higher than this. I
Actually, you're
mean,
right, because PC accounts should be like dominated, because like, pros use keyboard and mouse. You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, and it's a lot of the people that get into these kinds of games get into them on PCs and talk about, like, we joke about the PC master race and all that stuff, and want to play with the highest frame
Settings.
rates
Yeah.
and the highest settings and all that stuff. And this actually shows us that PC is not that significant after all. Now, it's also surprising that iOS is so low. I thought it was higher. So basically, this is surprising all across the board. I would have expected it to be more of like an evenly split across all the platforms. It actually looks like it's fairly irregular. And I think there's a couple interesting findings that we can get from, like, it being irregular. Number one, between PS4 and Xbox One, that sums up to about 75%. So 3 out of 4 people playing Fortnite are likely playing on console. Um, and that means to me that Fortnite is a much more popular game in countries like the US and maybe Europe than it is in emerging countries, or even Japan or something like that, right?
Makes sense.
Because those are the places where people have more consoles. Like 80% of American households have a home console. That is not the case for a lot of other countries. So I don't know, just interesting stats to look at. Yeah, you guys can look further into it and draw your own conclusions. But it definitely has opened my eyes to a few things. I will now look at games like this a little bit different than I would have otherwise.
It's now easy to know why Epic was willing willing to give up the Epic
Yeah,
the Apple Store ecosystem, because it really didn't really like affect their bottom line as much as you thought, that they were like going up against it, like this big like
yeah.
tyrant or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the cost of them was not that high compared to how much they're making. However, in absolute cash, right? That's still like millions and millions of dollars, right? Even that like that 7%, when Fortnite, I believe, is making over $1 billion a year, that 7% is a lot of money. So, um, but yeah, all right, cool. So, Lewis, let's move on and talk about the news. All right. So, we got a few interesting things happening this week, a few nice conversation starters. We're going to start with some numbers that started coming out. I'm going to read this one from Game Informer, as reported by Liana Rupert. PlayStation shatters industry sale records for fiscal year 2020 with over 7.8 million PS5 consoles sold. PlayStation has had its best year ever, according to recently revealed fiscal year 2020 consolidated financial results that went public in the morning of April 28th, 2021. With nearly a universal increase across the board, Team Blue had a successful 2020 and an even more successful start to 2021, with over 7.8 million PS5 consoles sold, even with supply issues. In recent financial documents, it is revealed that PlayStation has peaked at its highest revenue to date during fiscal year 2020, reporting just over 25 billion in revenue. This shatters the previous industry record in place, including Sony's own high of 20 billion. This yearly report also boasts that Q4 was a magical time for Team Blue, reporting an all-time high of 6.2 billion for that period, making a plus 32% jump from its previous Q4 reported data. For fiscal year 2020, okay, we're getting into more numbers here. I don't want to get too in the weeds with the story, but I do want to point out that this is about 200,000 more units than the PS4 sold in the same time frame. So in the same time frame, the PS4 sold 7.6 million units as opposed to 7.8. So they were able to sell just a tiny bit more PS5s than they did PS4s on the launch of that console for the same time frame. And I also want to point out that there's some new data that came out as well that indicates that the PS4 was the most successful console in Sony's history as far as total revenue because of the amount of games that they sold for the console, which was like the attach rate, the games that they sold per, or I should say, the money that they made from game sales was significantly higher than they had done in previous console generations. So, Lewis, what do you think?
I think it's good for Sony. I'm more of like a little disappointed by that as far as like when it comes to like PlayStation 5, we know that that number could have been 10 million, you know, if there was
Mm-hmm.
not supply constraints. So at least from like a pure like number standpoint, that they've put out as many PS4s at least, if not more, obviously, than or PS5s as they did PS4s at that same time frame. So the fact that I got a PS4, at launch back in 2013, just basically goes to show like the actual market, like the actual market for, for gamers or whatever, is actually like grown much more
Mm-hmm.
since then. So proportionally speaking, it's probably like, demand is not being met. So whatever. But as far as the amount of billions of dollars that Sony is making, I mean, this is definitely one of those kind of situations where Sony's going to feel very confident because they know they got revenue coming out the ass from every direction. Sony like made a deal with Disney, another deal with Netflix for billions of dollars. So they're basically, I'm pretty sure they're feeling like they're riding high on their throne. And not gonna lie, I am a little nervous about confident Sony, because when a company gets too confident, they have to become humbled some, and I don't want to see that happen. But yeah, it's probably gonna happen at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's interesting to wonder like what these numbers could have been if they weren't supply constrained. And I also think that another interesting thing about those numbers is that it kind of shows that Sony was able to produce just as many PS5s for this time frame that they were PS4s back in 2013. So I wonder like what can we learn from that information? Does that mean that their expectations when they planned for this launch was to have a launch that was the same as the PS4, and that's why they ordered this many parts basically and planned themselves to be able to release this many consoles? Or did they have the right expectations that they were going to be selling more, but were they really like the situation just got out of hand and they didn't know how to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that sounds like it's going to be the latter. I think they would have preferred to
Hmm.
have manufactured more, but they just couldn't.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I said, it's just the fact that they exceeded what they did with the PS4. It just goes to show that the market itself is bigger. Like um, when there's less demand, there's more units to go around. And now
Hmm.
that everybody and their mamas want a PlayStation, it's like, well, too bad for some people, obviously. So
Hmm.
yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Still on the subject of PlayStation, let's move on to this other story as reported by Joe Scrabbles for IGN. The Last of Us Part 3 has a plot, but it's not being made yet. Naughty Dog has written a story outline for The Last of Us Part 3, but isn't making the sequel right now. Creative director Neil Druckmann says he hopes it can one day see the light of day. Speaking on an episode of the Script Apart podcast about the writing of The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann touched briefly on the possibility of sequel. Open quote, I don't know how much I want to review. Co-writer Haley Gross and I did write an outline for a story that we're not making, but I hope one day can see the light of day that explores a little bit what happens after this game. We'll see. End quote. Druckmann says there's been quite a bit of discussion internally about a part 3, but pointed out how much work is involved in making a game like this a reality. Open quote. These games take so much to make. Part 2, I've been thinking about it for 7 years between when the last game came out and when this came out. You want to make sure you're jazzed by the idea that you have, that it feels like it's challenging. We've now had 2 games that I feel speak to something universal, as well as telling a very personal story for these characters. With one game, there's no pattern of what a franchise is. With 2 games, now there's starting to be a pattern. Now I feel like there are some structural and thematic themes you'd have to stick to if you're making a third game. It seems that Naughty Dog is currently exploring what to do next. After we finish one of our big titles, Druckmann explained, we take a long time to explore different ideas, whether it's going to be Last of Us 3, whether it's something new, whether there's some old franchise we want to go back to. I like to fully explore all of those, then look at, like, okay, we have all these ideas in front of us as a studio. What do we want to commit to? Because it's a huge commitment monetary, time, passion, talent. So you think about all the opportunity costs that come with that. End quote. Recent reports have suggested the Naughty Dog is, or at least was, working on a standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, a new Uncharted project, and a full remake of the original Last of Us. Yeah, Lewis. So I remember we had a discussion about this on our spoiler cast for The Last of Us Part 2 back when we played it almost a year ago. And I remember I said that I was pretty certain there would be a Part 3. I think you were a little like 50-50 on it. What do you feel about this story?
I mean, I'm not surprised that they have an idea as to where the story is going to
Hmm.
go. I think I mean, from a creative standpoint, somebody's gonna want to, think about where what you're gonna do with your babies, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Am I interested? No, I don't really care about
Hmm.
the franchise anymore after what happened in part two, and I don't really care about Ellie, and I sure as hell don't care about what's her face. I can't even remember her name. Abby? Yeah,
Abby.
yeah.
Hmm.
Literally, that's how little I care. Is I can't even be bothered to recall her name. So that being said, I'm just gonna like say this right now, straight up, 100%, like no cap. Last of Us 3 comes out, I'm not buying it, like at all. I'm not buying it. I'm not playing it. Maybe I'll play it when it comes out on PlayStation Plus. And that's it.
Hmm. Okay,
That's the only way I'll
interesting.
play.
Very strong emotions, strong feelings. I
When it
can
comes
feel
out on
the energy
PlayStation
here.
Plus, it'll be like so. The water cooler moment would have already gone way by, and opinions on it would have been whatever. Like, it'll
Hmm.
be way after the hype. So, yeah.
I have a theory about The Last of Us 3, and it's not necessarily about what it's going to be about. I don't want to get into that. There's a million things that it could be about. But I have a theory that The Last of Us Part 3 will fix everything that people have an issue with. I'm not joking. I have a theory that both the people that love The Last of Us 2, as well as the people that hate The Last of Us 2, that all of them will love The Last of Us 3 and will fall back in love with the franchise when that comes out.
Tell that to
And
the
the
Rise of
reason,
Skywalker.
well, that's a different story there. But um, so I have heard through the grapevines that one of the intent, like not necessarily an intent, but something that's kept in mind for the possibility of The Last of Us 3 is that because The Last of Us 2 split the audience, that The Last of Us 3 could be written and created in a way to help heal the audience and bring everybody back together. And that it's actually what the franchise needs to come to a successful conclusion. So I believe that 100% there will be a Last of Us Part 3. I don't know when it will come out. It might even be, I mean, it might even be on the PS6 at that point. But I believe when it does come out, there will have been enough time where people will have, like people will not feel as strong about their convictions about the series anymore. And I think a lot of people will play it, some begrudgingly, and I feel like it's going to be one of those things where it's going to help contextualize the decisions of Last of Us 2 while also giving people the fan service they want that they didn't get from Last of Us 2. And I think it's going to help bring everybody back together and have like the franchise as a whole be beloved by everybody again. That's my theory of what The Last of Us 3 is going to do.
The only way that your theory could possibly come true is if Neil Druckmann has nothing to do with Part 3.
Why would you say that?
Uh, well, clearly, when it came to Neil Druckmann, he made those decisions knowingly. Like he knows that he was going to piss off the audience. I mean, so why?
Mm,
I think he's got that one of that like Ryan Johnson kind of effect of like let's just be edgy and what do you call it? Subvert expectations for the sake of subverting expectations. So if somebody's gonna do what you're saying, they basically got to
mhm,
be a J.J. Abrams type of personality, and he's not that.
mhm. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if I agree that Neil Druckmann knew that he was gonna piss people off. Like I don't know if he has like on record said that, but what I've heard him say is that he believes more people would have liked the game had there not been leaks because he thinks that a lot of people. But I know that that's not the case for you. I know that that's not the case
Because
for
I
a lot
didn't
of the
know that
people
I
that
didn't
did.
know any of the
Yeah.
leaks. Yeah, so
Um.
yeah.
But so it doesn't come across. It comes across to me like they I don't know. I feel like he was more shocked that there was like a negative reception to the extent that there was. Actually, I don't think it was one of those things that he set out to do, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. All right.
I'll
That's,
consider revising my position if like Neil Druckmann had nothing to do with producing or directing or writing. I'll reconsider that. I'll say that, but
mhm.
clearly
All
that's
right.
not the case because he has an outline. But whatever.
Well, but an outline can be taken in a lot of different directions. If there was some change, I wonder if you would even want to, honestly, be involved with part three personally.
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
Let's move on to another last piece of PlayStation related news story of the day. And this is the kind of thing that would typically be an extra news kind of story, but I wanted to bring it in here just because I wanted to talk about it. Little Big Planet has been near unplayable for a long time and no one said why, as reported by Joe Scrabbles for IGN. For the Little Big Planet community, one thing is clear. None of the mainline games in the series work right now and haven't for quite some time. Very little beyond that fact is very clear at all. The series is small but devoted group of remaining players has been left in the dark about why major sections of Little Big Planets 1, 2, and 3 are unplayable. Who's responsible and when it will all be fixed? It's a situation that speaks to the wider issue of online game preservation and one community seemingly deemed no longer valuable enough to the companies that operate their games. The Little Big Planet servers went down in early March. Their single player campaigns remain playable and users can create their own levels, but they can no longer upload or download levels, the lifeblood of Little Big Planet, particularly this many years after release. Nor can they play with friends or access the game's store. All three of the console Little Big Planet games are linked, with Little Big Planet 3 players theoretically able to download levels made for the first game. The unfortunate side effect of this open approach being that when servers go down for one game, they go down for all three. The servers remain inaccessible as I write, and messages around servers repairs have been few and far between. On March 12th, the Twitter accounts for LBP3 developer Sumo Digital and Sony Studio SIE XDev all mentioned that the servers were being taken down because of technical difficulties. On March 31st, the LBP Twitter account followed up to say that the team was working to get the servers back online ASAP, with XDev Director of Product Development Pete Smith adding that it might not be today, but it's close. Fan site LBP Union even reported that the game was briefly playable in full that day, albeit with some slowdown, but the servers were down again before too long. The last we heard from the team came on April 16 with a post reading, "We are still working on the LBP server issues. It's taking us longer than we hoped, but we are making progress and we'll update everyone as soon as we have more info. Thanks for being so patient." So anyway, I just thought this was like this weird thing that just kind of popped up in my feed as I was going through trying to find stuff for the show. Um, and it's it goes back, it brings us back to the subject of, game preservation in these like always online games or games where player created content are such a big part of the experience of the game. And just kind of make me kind of sad about this idea that, and we said this before in the show, but just to reiterate, I can go and buy a Super Nintendo cartridge right now and put it in a Super Nintendo and play a game from that era. But apparently, I can't even do that with Little Big Planet 3
which is on the PS4.
on the PS4 right now. And it's this interesting thing where as we switch to digital media, I feel like there was this belief that, well, digital media, that's how you keep things forever, right? Like before we had issues where, your VHS tapes would stop working eventually and, like discs would stop working eventually. But if it's digital, you can always play it. There's like this sense of safety with digital media. Um, and now it feels like it's almost like the opposite, where it's almost like the most unsafe place you can own your games is digitally. It's the
Yeah.
vibe I'm getting.
It's like the
Uh,
veil has been lifted. It's like, oh, we're no longer like, our eyes are no
yeah,
longer covered to the fact. Servers cost space. Hard drives fail. Like even
yeah,
like even stuff that I have on my current PC, like, if I don't have everything correctly backed up either through the cloud or through another local hard drive, then I'd be screwed. I've lost data due to a hard drive failure. So there's that, and then also not to mention, even without the whole server space, like costing money, you also have to think about like greedy ass companies that need to renew licenses and stuff like that. GTA
yeah.
3 got patched to remove songs that were on the game disc.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when companies like Marvel, when they don't want to renew the Deadpool game, they get delisted and stuff like that. So uh, when it comes to like the idea that digital is like the best way to go for game preservation, I would say that's probably true, but only for the piracy scene. Not so
Hmm.
much true for like companies that don't want to renegotiate any contracts or licenses, or obviously these first parties that want to move on to the next shinier hardware and stuff like that. So, yeah, left to their own devices, companies are going to company. So.
And the thing that's like disappointing me about this, and it's that it's making me kind of frustrated about it, is that I don't think there's anything we can do about it as consumers. Like it kind of comes across like we have no way to really win on this situation, on figuring out like let me explain a little bit further what I'm trying to say here. When I bought my PS4, I was really excited about the fact that all games were available digitally from that point on. And the beginning of my time with the PS4 was pretty much just everything I bought digitally. There's excellent sales on the PSN. If you pay attention, you can always get almost every game for free or really cheap prices if you give it enough time. And it's, as far as the financial imperative to be a digital consumer primarily, is second to none. And I was really excited about the digital future. And for a while, I want to say for like a few years that I had my PS4, I bought everything digitally, and I was very happy about it. Um, However, now like I've realized that that there are issues with that, and that I'm a little bit scared about the future, like of when I'm not am I potentially going to lose access to my games one day, and etc. And so I've gotten more interested in buying physical games and collecting physical games. We talked about collecting last week, and I'm even doing that for some, like there are PS4 games that I own digitally then I'm going out, and if I see a good deal on it, I'm buying it physically as well. Like I did that for God of War, and I think I did that for a few other games as well. Um, when you can get them for like $5 or $10 at GameStop or whatever, like I've been doing it. However, the thing that's frustrating though is that like with so many games relying on either user generated content, or it has to like ping a server anyway to log you into a certain account or to like let the game work. And now these stories that we've been covering over the last few weeks, where it seems like it's possible now with these new consoles for you to have a huge collection of physical games, and even the physical games will not work, even if they're in great state, right? Like that they won't work in your console because the console is just locking you out of playing the games, or the game has some kind of connection to a server that's no longer available, like it seems to be the case with these LittleBigPlanet games. Um, and that sucks. And like it sucks that there's nothing we can do about that. You have anything to add?
Well, you know, what came to mind for me was the Walking Dead, the Telltale's The Walking Dead. You know, when
Mm-hmm.
Telltale like went bankrupt or whatever, like didn't all their games get like delisted like all at once? And then
Yeah.
like whenever like a company, another parent company bought them out, so that way they were able to like relist their games and stuff like that. One of the things that you don't even really think about when it comes to like these digital games is like these companies go defunct, and when they do, there's no one to negotiate, re-upping these licenses, because if like PlayStation or Sony is selling these digital games, these proceeds of the sale have to go to a company, and if a company doesn't exist, then there's no one to go give it to, so therefore they can't sell it. So I don't know. It's just interesting thing to think. An interesting thing to think of is in the sense that there's so many companies that don't exist that were developers from the NES and the SNES era, and so there's nothing to say that these companies that are like developing games here for the PS4 era aren't going to be defunct by the time the PS7 comes out. So just
Mm-hmm.
another food for thought there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll probably continue to be talking about this subject as more stories like this and the ones that we've covered on the previous shows continue to show up. For now, let's move on to our final two stories of the day here, starting with this post from Xbox Wire, continuing our PC gaming journey in 2021 and beyond. Basically, this was a post where Xbox is just talking. Matt Booty from Xbox is talking about how they're continuing to support, players on Xbox and PC. But the main announcement that came out of it is that they're going to be having crossplay on Halo for. Let me pull up it here. We know many of you play across more than just your PC, including on Xbox and mobile. That's why we're excited to announce Halo Infinite will support multiplayer, crossplay, and cross progression when it releases later this year. That means if you're playing on PC, you can play with your friends on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. It also means that your multiplayer customization and progress will follow you across all platforms. We have been working closely with the PC community to ensure that Halo Infinite offers premier PC experience, including highly desired features such as support for ultra-wide and super ultra-wide screens, triple keybinds, a wide variety of advanced graphics options, and more. We want to make sure that Halo is serving the PC community. We're also using the cloud to make console gaming accessible on even more PCs. While not meant to replace native PC gaming, Xbox Cloud Gaming allows Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members to play over 100 console games on a wide range of computers, from lower spec entry-level machines to older devices that otherwise couldn't handle games that require more power. Cool. So this is just one of those things that enumerates one of the differences between how Microsoft is approaching things on this generation versus how Sony is approaching things this generation. Really, Microsoft is treating PC as a platform that's part of the same family of systems as the Xbox Series X and S in a way, right? It's almost like everything they're going to be releasing is going to be coming out to the Xbox and PC family of systems with crossplay and cross progression. I mean, if they're doing it for their biggest new title, which is Halo Infinite, then we can expect them to be doing for pretty much everything else as well that they will release across the board. So yeah, what do you think of this strategy and this announcement?
I mean, it's definitely one of those like what do you call it, consumer friendly practices, and I'm pretty sure no one's gonna really like get upset about it. It's like, oh no, you gave me more,
Mm-hmm.
you gave me more choices to how to play my game and stuff like that. I mean, if anything, these are the kind of decisions that help win that goodwill of players. So I wonder how like you know like how what the actual Xbox Series X and S, what their sales numbers are. I kind of wish that Microsoft would, because if they're in the same situation where they're constantly selling out every time there's a drop as well, and
Hmm.
if they're like, oh yeah, we sold 7 million units or whatever, like damn,
Yeah.
you can basically say that we're at parity and stuff like that, because the idea that I think I even made the prediction that they were gonna outsell them 2 to 1. Like maybe that's not even true, but the world may never know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in that sense, though, like I wonder, like when it comes to these decisions, like where is Xbox like gonna be a situation where now they're gonna like dwarf PlayStation, and then like their decisions, their choices, make them the superior place to go. You know what I mean? Like that'd be an interesting thing if with all the buyouts, these studios that they're buying out, that now it's like now we have a pipeline of games that just come out, and now everyone wants to get on these nuts, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's been interesting. I think I'm very curious to see how things end up playing out this generation. I feel like my theory about this generation is that um when asked, "Oh, who won this generation?" that there will never be a clear answer, that it will all be based on what your standards are, right? And maybe that was always the case, but I feel like before there was usually a little bit more of like a clear perspective into like who was winning and who was losing out of the big three, right? Like in the Wii, PS3, Xbox 360 generation, for a while there, really the Wii was winning, right? Like Nintendo was winning, and then like the 360 was right behind them, and then PS3 was the third place, and then towards the end of the generation, it kind of got flipped where the Wii was at the bottom, and then the PS3 was ahead, and etc. And things kind of equaled out in that generation, right? And then in the next generation, then we saw the Wii U completely fail, but the PS4 be extremely successful. The Xbox One to be somewhere in the middle there, but still not very successful. The 3DS swore, while the Vita plummeted, and that, like it was kind of very clear in a lot of ways for people watching the numbers and watching the general public perspective. Versus, I feel like for this generation, it's going to be much harder to say that because the Switch is this widely successful console that's keeps selling and selling and selling, and all the games for it like sell so much. But then they're also playing on a whole different market, almost. Like it's like the handheld hybrid market that they completely dominate and are literally the only option on. And then with PS5 and Series X, like and the Xbox, actually, my theory was that he said they're going to outsell them 2 to 1. That might be the case, but what I think is going to happen is that PS5 will sell more than the Xbox Series family, but that they will close the gap when compared to the previous generation. So
I would say maybe more like they may even close the gap with just the revenue that they're making from Game Pass. So,
yes, and there's that too. And something we forgot to mention when we from the article about like the PlayStation 5 numbers, that I don't even know if it was covered on that article specifically, but I read more into that earnings call, um, or fiscal report or whatever it's called. And they confirmed in that call, and I'm not sure if they had confirmed this before, that the PS5 is being sold at a loss.
mm,
Um, so they had a part where they were like, it was like profits versus losses of the year. And in the losses part, they put in PS5 sales, basically, because they are selling them under manufacturing costs. So there's that too, right? It's like, who's profiting more, right? Like for a lot of times in these generations, when you buy a console, the company's not profiting off the console purchase, or even if they are, maybe they're not profiting too much. But the moment you buy that console in 2 or 3 games, then they're making a significant profit in the transaction as a whole from the games, right?
yeah. I
Um,
wonder. I wonder if this is going to be like the first console generation where the narrative isn't going to be easily written. You know what I mean? Like when it came to
yeah.
like the PS4 generation, it was like, oh, it's a runaway success and things like that. When it came to like the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, it was like, oh, the Super Nintendo clearly won, kind of thing. It's like the story, the narrative, the thing that we tell the kids, kind of thing. It's not. I don't know if that's going to be something that's easily going to be told, because every all three companies are doing their own strategies. Like the handheld market gone, but Nintendo is dominating the hybrid strategy. The PlayStation
Hmm.
5 is going to be like outwardly facing. Oh yeah, everything's going good here. They're gonna, PR speak these numbers and stuff like that. And meanwhile, Xbox is probably going to be pretty satisfied, but they're not gonna. They're going to be quiet about it. So it's like,
Mhm.
who's really winning here, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell. We may never know, but we'll report on whatever we do know and whatever we do find out. So yeah, cool stuff. And then to wrap us up here, Microsoft shakes up PC gaming by reducing Windows Store cut to just 12%. So Microsoft is shaking up the world of PC gaming today with a big cut to the amount of revenue it takes from games on Windows. The software giant is reducing its cut from 30% to just 12% from August 1st in a clear bid to compete with Steam and entice developers and studios to bring more PC games to its Microsoft Store. So yeah, just kind of following on Epic's footsteps there and trying to adopt the same 12% rate, which is obviously great for developers and trying to undercut Steam and all that stuff. Liz, do we think this stuff is going to work? Like, do you think that either Epic or now Microsoft, that they're actually going to be able to successfully undermine Steam's monotony on this? Um,
I'm not sure. I don't know. I
yeah,
feel like Steam
I
is
said,
always going
I
to have
said,
a monopoly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Monopoly. There you
yeah.
go.
I think Steam is always going to have that monopoly. To tell you the truth, I think people
Hmm.
seem to be like very, at least when it comes to PC gamers, they seem to be very attached to like their friends list and all their achievements and all the little perks that comes with being on Steam. That being said, nobody talks about the Microsoft Store at all. Like as far as like it being a launcher, the only time people even talk about Microsoft Store is because of like either like Game Pass slash any first party games that comes out on PC. That's the only way to get first party Microsoft developed games is through the Microsoft Store. So I think
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting to like want to get these developers to actually put their games on their platform and also enticing them. It makes sense. Epic Games did it that way, and it's like, hey, you want to be enticing? We'll give you a bigger cut. So if anything, I would say this would probably hurt more Epic uh, than it
Hmm.
does Steam, because Steam is gonna, I'm pretty sure Steam is always gonna sit on the throne when it comes to PC gaming.
Hmm.
When it comes to like the Microsoft Store, they're gonna become like that new hot side chick that all the developers are gonna want to go to. So especially when it comes to like exclusives and stuff like that, it's like, oh, we instead of going to Epic Games for exclusives, let's just go to the Microsoft Store and then get get
Hmm.
bid better there. So I think it's definitely not a it's a win-win. Developers got another viable platform, and Microsoft is sort of like getting the stranglehold. So
Yeah,
yeah.
making the moves, making the moves. All right. For our extra news today, we got 5 items here. Number one, Castlevania Resurrection, Konami's canceled 2000 sequel, is now available online. A build of the unfinished Dreamcast title having been uploaded by archivist. I just realized I don't think I've ever said this word. Combi Laurent via Destructoid. Number two, Jeff Goldblum is lending his voice to Dungeons and Dragons podcast Dark Dice. It's an improvised audio drama where the outcome of the story is determined by the rolling of dice. Number three, EA has teased the new mainline Battlefield game being developed with the help of 4 different EA studios, alongside an announcement of Battlefield Mobile coming 2022. And that is, by the way, the game I'm working on. Um, Not, disclaimer, not don't represent EA or anything like that. Just kind of doing my thing here. But yes, that this week or last week, I should say, it was finally announced the game I've been working on for a while, and that is Battlefield Mobile. Number four, after a major sale, Respawn Entertainment's Titanfall 2 sees Steam resurgence with active players up 750%. And lastly, number five, Sony presented a new state of play this week, showcasing new Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart gameplay, in addition to Among Us on PS4 and PS5 and Subnautica Below Zero. Anything you want to comment on, Lewis?
I gotta say, I am very surprised as to why Titanfall 2 is suddenly like popping. So there has to be. I want to know what like it's like when I do like Ready Play movies and we talk about the iTunes charts and suddenly some old movie from like the '90s is charting in the top 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the kind of vibes I'm getting. Um, And yeah, that's really all I got to say. I was a little disappointed by the state of play. I expect more out of a state of play, especially like I kind of equate that to a Nintendo Direct, and if Nintendo kind of pulled that shit, like I would like well actually Nintendo does pull that shit, but they call it like a Nintendo Direct Mini. They put the
Hmm.
expectations like very clear. It's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be an 8 minute. They even tell you the time. Oh, it's gonna be an 8 minute thing, focusing on the new Mario game kind of thing. So, okay, I'll give
Has
them that.
there?
There has been minis
Yeah.
and stuff that do like when it's like one thing.
Now I wanna talk about the state of plays for a second though. Like, has there ever been a state of play that hasn't been at best like mediocre? Because that's what I'm not. That's not me like trying to be. I actually I'm off the mind that they usually set the expectations correctly, and that if you have high expectations for them, that I don't know what you're thinking. But from my understanding, there hasn't been a we've argued before about the directs, and you've said, no, there's been hype directs before, and I can kind of see it. But from my understanding, there hasn't been a state of play that's been hype yet.
No, I would say the closest
Okay.
one might have been the first one, and even then, like that's a stretch.
Yeah.
So the only reason why I would even hype it in my mind is because I equate state of play to Nintendo Direct. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
if I'm thinking about if I'm putting all my mental and emotional energy into like what I want out of a Nintendo Direct, then I'm going to do that same exact energy into a state of play. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want state of play to be like the year of dreams when it came to E3 and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Dude, I want like I feel like such an old person saying this because it's like I want it the way it was back in my day, but that's the truth though. Like I want the press conferences the way they used to be, back in the early 2010s, with all the different companies, being personally at a stage and just bringing the hype with their biggest announcements all at once. Like that's what I want. I'm so
Hmm.
tired of these like short video presentations that are just so kind
Peppered
of
throughout the whole
boring. And
year, yeah.
yeah,
Instead of
and
like all
and
being condensed and kind of like just sort of like squeezed together like nuclear fission or whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I want to see Miyamoto like on stage demonstrating Skyward Sword on the Switch and have it not work. That's what I want, Louis.
you
That's
know,
what I miss.
one last thing here, and I know you don't really feel comfortable with talking about your EA shenanigans and stuff like that, but I think you need to like go on a podcast, like, and not this podcast, but I meant like guest star on somebody's podcast and be interviewed about the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to do one of those like IGN Unfiltered esque like podcasts
Oh yeah.
where you're like
Oh,
you're the the expert and you're being interviewed about your creative process
yeah.
and stuff like that. I know
Well,
I
that
know
would be
that's
cool.
I know that's overstating it because I think what is it you
Yeah.
do UI and that's about it, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
uh,
I mean that would be cool. That would be cool anyway. So if anybody's listening, you can hit me up. But actually, the truth is that there's that kind of stuff is a little complicated because, you know, when a game is about to come out or comes out, there's usually designated people that are supposed to be speaking on behalf of the game and on behalf of the team,
hmm.
and they don't typically. I'm not. I don't want to say anything specific or definitive about EA or my job or whatever, but generally it's like you don't want everybody on the team to go out and just talk like freely. That can lead to a lot of PR issues.
That makes
So
sense.
you
Yeah, yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Now that I think about like who goes and does the rounds and stuff like that, it's usually like the head producer. Like there's like a
yeah,
forward-facing person. You never have like a developer like who's like on the ground floor, going in front of Brian
exactly,
McCaffrey
exactly.
kind of thing. You're right. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. Damn.
Yeah, so
Uh,
usually you have kind of like everybody is welcome to, talk about the game with their friends and share it on social media and all that stuff, right? But like usually as far as like the media run, it's like there's like a designated person or two that does that, and then they know like exactly what they can or can't talk about, what beats they need to hit and like all of that stuff, right? So
mm.
um that will probably not be me in any game I work on for a really long time.
Unless you're
Until
like I
I
don't, unless you're no longer in the games industry, and then you can like fuck NDAs or something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Or I make my own studio one day or something,
Oh
and then
yeah,
I just make the rules, right?
yes, that's right.
So
Oh, what's he need to be? What's his name? Sean. Damn. What's his name? Guy that made
Tim.
No Man's Sky.
Oh, I don't remember him, but I was gonna say like Tim Schafer or something.
Yeah.
Sean Murray.
Yeah.
No,
You
is
need
it
to
Sean
be. You
Murray?
need to be your own Sean Murray. Is what you need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's keep going. Oh man. All right. So I brought something here, and then you brought something as well. The thing that I brought in is that there's a golden Wii designed for Queen Elizabeth that's up for sale. There's an article from IGN here, is reported by Matt Purslow. A golden Nintendo Wii created for the Queen of the UK, Elizabeth II, is currently for sale on eBay for the sum of $300,000. The luxurious console's current owner, a Dutch video game collector, Caldoni, has put the Queen's Wii up for sale because he is moving on with life. I love that
That is
quote.
so terrible. Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's so funny. Um, he's continuing. He says, I've been in one place for my whole life. It's time to get my own place. At times, it has been difficult for me to have free time or relax. Lately, it's all CV and my daily job. When I come home, I don't get to spend a lot of me time. So I would like to take the step and move on. So this is so funny because this dude has a $300,000 worth Wii that was made for a queen, and he talks about it as if he's like somebody that's trying to move out of his parents' basement or something. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so that's up for sale. You know, broke gamers guy deal of the day. If you want to go get a Wii that's made of gold. And the funniest thing of this to me, Lewis, is that if you pull up the eBay listing, there's a game that's included with this item, and
Oh.
it's Big Family Games by THQ
Oh
on
my
the Wii.
God.
I had never heard of that game before, but it just looks like the kind of game that best represents the Wii, because it's probably just shovelware, and it's like some sports game that uses the Wiimote.
Yeah, look,
Um
it was. It says here on the article, if you're unaware of the legend of the Queen's Golden Wii, it was created as part of a PR stunt by THQ for the Wii game Big Family Games.
oh,
It's
okay.
a mini game compilation,
So
and
that's where all of THQ's money went. That's why
before
they
they went
they went
under,
bankrupt.
yeah. So that makes sense why it's coming with it because THQ was the one that like decided to create this. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that this doesn't come like bundled with like Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? Like
That would have been awesome.
that would have been hella awesome. But yeah, I like he's gonna buy a house with the money. That's what he wants to do.
Basically,
uh,
is what it sounds like.
oh my god.
Oh man.
All
How
right.
did this I wonder how did this person even get the console? But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, what I brought to the table was a video on IGN, IGN's YouTube channel slash IGN's webpage. They covered a mod. So, in case you guys don't know, the Wii U is like basically the Dolphin emulator works on the Wii U. You can actually like emulate games on PC
Mhm.
of games, and so Breath of the Wild came out on the Wii U, and I believe the Switch. I don't know if the Switch is being emulated or not specifically. I want to say maybe, probably, but basically what they did was they took Breath of the Wild, and there's like fans that like use the mod scene or whatever, and they basically created an up-resed version of Breath of the Wild. They made it run at 4K. They made it run at 60 frames per second, and it looks hella freaking dope. Like, oh my god, it's so fluid, it's so beautiful, and like, and first off, shout out to the editors here at IGN because, you know, you if you're watching the video, you're only seeing the video version of it. I have the sound muted, but the songs, the song that they chose for this video is just like just A1. I like the song and I downloaded that song. I went to look it up and stuff like that. It's a really good song. And I can't think of the name of the song, but it's in the comment section of somebody commented the name of the song. But anyways, that being said, looking at this footage, just like looking at it looks so smooth and just gorgeous and like this this mod makes me wish that Nintendo made Breath of the Wild for the PS5. That's how like great it looks. Like holy shit. Like, and then there's also like these filters that you can put on there to make it look different with different art styles and different aesthetics. They put Linkle in. But yeah, it like just this opening sweeping cinematic right here that I'm like watching of like Link just running out there. It just looks so good. And so just check it out. I don't personally have this game on PC, but seeing this makes me want to explore that. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it does look exceptional. It's really cool. It does make you wonder. Like, I know that Nintendo has kind of abandoned like the powertrain a long time ago, but if they reconsider that as another branch of their business, I think that would be really cool. Like, I guess I don't see any reason why Nintendo couldn't do both, right? Like why they couldn't have something like the Switch, and then also have a powerful console in the level of the PS5 and the Series X. Something is just make a new GameCube, basically, just a cube that plays games at like with the highest top end hardware, and then you could play Nintendo games like the same game. You could maybe play like low res on the Switch, or you could play like at the up ultimate settings on this hardware. It would be cool if they ever did that, but I don't think they ever will.
Yeah,
We know that even the Switch Pro, the much rumored Switch Pro, will probably not be able to pull this off, I think. Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, but we can always hope. I mean, hell, if they get 4K 30, I mean that'd be cool. But just seeing the art style, like Nintendo's art is just like so beautiful, and now it just looks even more polished. It's kind of crazy when I think about like how it looks like on the Switch and stuff like that. It's just so like I can never look back kind of thing. So, anyways,
Lewis, I actually want to skip topic of the show, and I want to go straight to new releases and let you take over the show right now, if that's all right.
all right, cool. That's it. That's all. That's fine by me.
What are you buying?
All right. So for new releases, there's a couple of things going on. Number one, there's out of left field, like we have no idea why, but the Nintendo decided to just update Super Mario Party, like at like a game that's like 2 years old, I think, uh, maybe more. And
And the
so this update, like you can actually play online. That's kind of crazy. I think they're a year too late, to tell you the truth. I feel like they should have done it during the
yeah,
height of the lockdown, for social
yeah.
distancing. But it
Oh
is
yeah, dude! Like, how cool would it have been if they should have done this in like, because Animal Crossing came out in March, right? And then they really owned the rest of the year with Animal Crossing there. But like, had they released this, there was like some like dead zones on Nintendo's release calendar last year. Had they managed to release this on like August or something like that, this would have been perfect. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It probably was planned to be released last year, with everything getting delayed and this coming out in April. I think it's easy to assume that this might have been
a work
something
from
that was planned
home.
for the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
work from home could have messed it up, or better yet, they could have like scrapped Super Mario Party 2. You know what I mean? Like, or something got
Mm,
happened where we got delayed, and so like, well, we're not putting out Super Mario Party 2 anytime soon. So let's
yeah.
let's parlay that. And then people are also like speculating that because like Nintendo recently invested into servers, a new net code or whatever, that they're saying like, okay, that's the reason why. Apparently, from like there was early from reviews that I've seen, is that the online connectivity is like pretty top notch. There's not a whole lot of lag, and so. For in case you didn't know, there was online on Super Mario Party, but it was like relegated to like a couple of like a very select handful of mini games and mini games only. But now you can basically do almost every single mode, game mode, except for like the river raft one. But basically every mode, and you can play full like board games with like 25 turns with like other people on your friends list. Slash, you can even make a semi-open lobby where, as long as you give your this the room code out, like whether through Discord or Twitter or whatever, then people can join your game kind of thing without a password. So yeah, you can set your password, you can do all that. It's really cool. Really weird decision where they decided to do is they decided to do this thing where it was if you're playing two people on one Switch, then you can only connect to one other Switch. So like
Mm,
you can do two people on one Switch and then two people on one Switch and have four players, or you can do two people on one Switch and one person on one Switch, and then you have to have a CPU player. It's really weird where you can't do like 2-1-1, but whatever. Or you can just do
mhm.
four individual consoles and stuff like that. But yeah, Mario Party. Um, there you go. I don't really have much to say. I didn't really think the game was all that good. I mean, I think it was good for the novelty. I will say. I mean, I played it locally with friends, but it's not the best Mario Party to ever Mario Party. I'll say that. So, yeah.
Hmm. Have you played all the Mario Party games, Louis?
Yeah. Well, kind of. So I have them. I have all of them, and I've played like
Hmm.
bits and pieces of them. But like my favorite era was the GameCube version. That's the one that was in the rotation even in the modern day.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I don't own this game actually, but I had some friends hit me up, some that listened to the show actually, being like, "Hey," like they were the ones that shared this story with me, and they were like, "Hey, we should play." And I said, "Oh, I don't even own the game." And the thing that's shitty is that they had this game for sale all the time, like from since last year to now. It was like it was constantly on sale, and it's not on sale now that they released the update. Which fair enough, that makes sense. You know, like people had the opportunity to get it on sale, and then now that there's an update, they know that the update alone will drive demand. So they want to sell at full price. Like, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's consumer friendly, but I understand the idea there. Um,
I wonder if it's gonna start charting in like the NPD next month, and also,
oh yeah,
the other thing was, I know it's, I know it's already in the top 10 of like the highest selling Switch games. So I wonder if it'll like climb up from like number 10 to like number 7 or something like that, or number 5. I think pretty much everything in the top 10 is sold over 10 million units. So it's really crazy that as successful as this game is, that Nintendo neglected to patch this game with like extra boards or extra game modes or better online. So whatever. I don't know if
yeah.
better late than never it counts on this case, to tell you the truth, but whatever. Next up, Call of Duty Warzone Season Three's new map rewinds the clock to 1984. So the newest season of Call of Duty Warzone is officially out, and it comes with the major overhaul of its Verdansk map. Now it's Verdansk 84. So new map, looks like, doesn't seem to, just sort of speed reading this article, doesn't seem to whole lot going on other than the new map. So for those that play Call of Duty Warzone, and I know there's like a big scene for that, there you go. Have fun with that. Anything to say on that?
Nope.
All right. Next up is gonna be Pokemon Snap. It's gonna be new Pokemon Snap, and I gotta say I'm very hyped and I'm very excited for it. You know, so let's go ahead and read this blurb here. It says, um, explore lush scenery on unknown islands. To snap photos of Pokemon in their natural habitats. Seek out and take in game photographs of Pokemon in their native environments in the new Pokemon Snap game, only for the Nintendo Switch system. Snap photos from the Neo 1 as you encounter and research lively wild Pokemon. You might see unexpected expressions or behaviors, Pokemon patrolling their territory, playing, or lurking in out of the way spots. Investigate the mysterious Illumina phenomenon. Travel to the islands that make the Lentil region. In this region, some of the Pokemon and vegetation will appear to have a special glow. Research these Pokemon alongside Professor Mirror as you explore these dense jungles, vast deserts, and more. Your observations of Pokemon thriving in the wild may help unravel the truth behind the Illumina phenomenon. The Pokemon pictures you take will be used to build your very own Pokemon photo decks. Oh, that's an interesting play on words. Save, edit, and share your favorite Pokemon photos. Save photos to your personal in game album to edit and adjust them. When you complete a course, you can adjust the brightness, blur, zoom, and other aspects of your photo in resnap mode. Then add stickers, frames, and filters to add a personal touch. Share your favorite photos with your family and friends in game. You can also see what kind of photos everyone else is taking. See something you like, award a sweet medal. That's very Reddit of them, by the way. Like, you can award medals and stuff like that. But yeah.
Did you see that there's I don't know if we covered this, but there's a printer that they're selling with this as well. I think it's like an officially licensed Nintendo photo printer that you can sync with the game and use it to print your Pokemon photos.
Yes, I saw that. It's
Yeah.
I think it's coming out like next week. It's not coming out day and date, so like it's like a little like what is it? Those printers that like kind of like Polaroids. I think Polaroid is the one making it, so it's like, yeah, it
Hmm.
makes sense. I think it's it kind of goes back to the Nintendo 64, because on the during the Nintendo 64 days, you were able to print your games at like the kiosks at a Blockbuster, and so now they're just sort of
That's
paying it
cool.
forward. But yeah, anything to say? Anything to say about the game? Are you excited at all? Or even did you even remember that this game was even happening?
Honestly, Lewis, I could faint excitement just to be nice, but I couldn't care less. Really, like I didn't play the original, didn't even know it existed till much later. And I know that I've probably could have been quoted in the past saying like, "Oh man, they should have brought this game back on the Wii U days," because it just seemed like the game
Yes.
that was made for the Wii U, right?
Yes, the gamepad.
And that
Yes.
made yeah, and that made perfect sense. So I think it comes out a little too late in that sense, but cool. It's cool that it exists. I hope people enjoy it, but it's not. It's one of those things where I can almost find myself getting a little like contagious with the hype, right? Because I know that people are very excited for this. But at the end of the day, like if I actually went out of my way to buy this game, I feel like I would regret it because I feel like I would. I don't really see the. I don't really see the fun in the gameplay that much personally. It's not. It's just it doesn't seem like something I would really enjoy.
Okay, fair enough. I think I'll buy and keep it in the shrink wrap for a while, just because.
You're not even gonna play it.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I have a review code coming my way for Level One Gaming, so I might be busy with the review.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, not to mention, we're gonna be playing another game as well for another review that we're doing. So my time is very hard to work around. I've been noticing that when it came to like doing ready play movies and having to watch certain things for that show, and then it's hard to
Yeah.
also play games for this show. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. When I'll tell you this. When a game has to be like Last of Us One caliber for me to drop everything and focus in on it. I don't. That's not to say that this
Mm-hmm.
is not that case, but that's really no offense to Pokemon Snap. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
let's go ahead and move on. Next up, also on Friday as well, April 30th, on the PlayStation 5, we're getting a PlayStation 5 exclusive game, Returnal, made by Housemarque. It says here on the blurb, break the cycle of chaos on an always changing alien planet. After crash landing on this ship, the shape shifting world, Celine must search through the barren landscape of an ancient civilization for her escape. Isolated and alone, she finds herself fighting tooth and nail for survival. Again and again, she's defeated, forced to restart her journey every time she dies. Through relentless roguelike gameplay, you'll discover that just as the planet changes with every cycle, so do the items at your disposal. Every loop offers new combinations, forcing you to push your boundaries and approach combat with a different strategy each time. Brought to life by stunning visual effects, the dark beauty of the decaying world around you is packed with explosive surprises. For From the high stakes bullet hell fueled combat to the visceral twists and turns through stark and contrasting environments, you'll explore, discover, and fight your way through an unforgiving journey where mystery stalks your every move. Designed for extreme replayability, the procedural world of Returnal invites you to dust yourself off in the face of defeat and take on new, evolving challenges with every rebirth. Well, that's a
Yeah.
read.
So I've kind of followed this game a little bit, heard about it. I haven't seen a lot of footage from it actually, other than the trailers and the events that we covered in the past. But ever since the game came out or got in the hands of reviewers, it hasn't come out yet. But ever since it got in the hands of reviewers, I haven't really watched anything. But it seems like the game is good. It's one of those roguelikes where it's all about the runs. You do a run and then you figure out what you can do to go farther on the next run. But the thing that's kind of unique about this game, or there's multiple things that are unique, but the one that people have criticized it for, I should say, is that the runs are very long, and you can't save mid-run. So you might have to play the game for like 2 or 3 hours without being able to save before you're like done with something. And if you just quit the game in that time frame, you just lose your progress. So people have been kind of struggling with that and wishing that the PS5 had some kind of quick resume feature so that they could switch to another game and then jump back in, because without quick resume, you need to quit a game to get into another game. So that's something that you can't really do while playing Returnal, it seems, unless you're okay with losing progress or just making sure that you do it when you have those like in between runs, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I'm not sure if I'm even planning on picking it up at all. I mean, when I do like Housemarque, by the way, I like a lot of their games. They haven't really made a bad game, and I think I saw the IGN review already, and it gave it a pretty favorable score. So, um, yeah. Anyways, next up for new releases, also on April 30th, It says here R-Type 2 Final 2. Wait, R-Type Final 2. That's the one. There we go. Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I'm surprised they're not putting it on PS5. But yeah, it's out on April 30th. Next up is Terminator Resistance Enhanced. This was a PlayStation 4 game, and now it's coming out to PlayStation 5, also on April 30th. And rounding it out is Sari, The Beginning, coming out on PC on May 4th, and The Colonists on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Yeah, that's it on May 4th as well. So, yeah, nothing too exciting as far as pick of the week. I'm just gonna go ahead and just say Pokemon. It feels like that's like the right answer, especially because it's been a long-awaited sequel for a game that you know we know what it is. I think as far as reviews go, I saw both IGN review both Snap and Returnal, and they both were favorable anyways. So I don't really think you can go wrong with either one, especially because they're both exclusives. So hopefully they pique your interest for your console of choice.
Sounds good.
All right. Next up is going to be the deals.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
Not a whole lot going on here. We got three things just to cover. We got Epic free games, PlayStation Plus games, and games with gold. All right. So starting things off first off with Epic, the free games of the week is going to be, or the free game of the week is going to be Epic Champions. Let's see. Hold on. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. It's free until May the 6th. Let's go ahead and read this blurb here. It says, if this thing can load, what the hell? Wow. That's never happened. It's usually always loads immediately. Okay. Idle Champions is a licensed Dungeons and Dragons strategy management video game uniting iconic characters from novels, campaigns, and shows into one epic adventure. So it kind of looks like one of those like Flash games from like back in the day, just from like the gameplay from what I'm seeing here. Visually, it doesn't really pique my interest, but you know what? I'll claim it just because. Anything else to say about it?
I agree. I agree with you. It's kind of. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It looks like it's part. I guess it's like part card game. Almost looks like it, or actually, I don't know. You control a lot of characters at once. It seems like. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really. I don't think I've played like any game I picked up on the Epic Game Store for
Fair
real.
enough. Fair enough.
But that's not to criticize the games though. It's just there's way too many things going on. And
yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
Allegedly, next week's free game is going to be Pine. And let's go with the bad news first, so we can end on a good note. So let's go to Xbox Games with Gold here. So from May 1st to the 31st, you can claim Armello, and then from May 16th through June 15th, you can claim Dungeons 3. And I would say the only highlight here is an old ass Lego Batman game. Like it's Lego Batman 1 for the Xbox 360. You can claim it from May 1st to the 15th, the first half of May. The second half of May, you can claim Tropico 4, which is another 360 game. So yeah, not a whole lot going on with Games with Gold, and I just kind of wish that they can go. Microsoft had like you can go balls to the wall on not just Game Pass but also Games with Gold. Like if you have like high quality, like classy ass games that everyone likes and like is just like ogling for, that would be very. You would basically, just be like that cherry on top. It would just set you on that like that trajectory of like perfection, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But anything to say about this sorry lot of games?
It's the same thing that I feel like it's almost getting repetitive. It's month after month, it's roughly the same general quality level. I bet a lot of these games are actually turn out to be good games, but they're not generally well-known, beloved games that we would be like, oh man, that's awesome that they're adding that, right? So they're not excitement inducing really.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go as far as to say as that and that should not be misconstrued as any kind of criticism of a particular game. But I'm gonna go. to say that I feel like this month Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus are in the same level, more
Oh,
or less. Yeah,
damn.
yeah.
Okay. I was gonna give it up to PlayStation Plus for the one saving grace that they have. Um, PlayStation Plus's free games is 3 games. I think it's one for PS5, two for PS4. The games for May is going to be Battlefield 5, Stranded Deep, Wreckfest, Drive Hard, Die Last. Is that the whole title? What the hell? Anyways, yeah, Drive Hard, Die Last. That's it. So yeah, the PS5 game is some weird ass truck racing slash kind of like just sort of like take these two cars and just sort of like crash them together kind of thing. Doesn't look really interesting, but there it is. That's the PlayStation 5 game. But at least with PlayStation 4, and which is also backwards compatible, you can get Battlefield 5, which is like I think it might have been like the sequel to Battlefield 1, if I'm not mistaken, because I know it takes place during World War II. So uh, I don't know. I think people were like riding high during the Battlefield time, where everyone was like loving Battlefield 1 because of its like that boots on the ground World War One, these little vignettes with stories and stuff like that. It also does that as well with this one, vignettes. So yeah, I would say Battlefield 5 is the big one, and then adding it out is Stranded Deep. Never heard of that one either, but yeah, I would say Battlefield 5 is like the win for me.
Yeah, the reason, and I won't say anything about Battlefield, because especially now that y'all know that I'm working on Battlefield, that would be bad, right? So I'll just refrain from commenting on that. But I will say the reason why I said that they were kind of on par is because the majority of the people that have an Xbox already have access to Battlefield 5. It
Hmm,
is an Xbox Game Pass game.
that's true.
Um,
That's true.
so that's why I was kind of like, yeah, like it's cool, I guess, that they're giving it away on PS Plus, especially with the new Battlefield announcements. You know, people are excited about Battlefield, are thinking about Battlefield again when they haven't in a while, probably. So I guess it makes sense to have that be available. It's definitely I agree, pushes it over the edge over the Games with Gold games. But then it's not like Xbox could have added Battlefield either, because they already have it, right? So yeah.
That's true. That's fair enough. Okay. Do you wanna finish it out, or do you wanna?
Yes. Let's you know what? Let's do sharing the love, Lewis, if you have the sound effect ready there. It's nice to hear this again. 2 weeks in a row now for the was it the first two times in 2021, by the way, that
Yes.
we did it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think it might be. Other than when Leah was on, I
Yeah.
think we did it. Yeah. But the truth is, I don't have a lot of like cool like childhood stories left anymore personally. I don't have, I guess I just don't have that many of them in general, or I just don't remember them most of the time. uh but when I realized it was my turn to do a sharing the love, and I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to bring the segment back to the uninitiated. This is a segment where we just kind of, talk about a game that we love, something from our childhood, something that we have a strong connection with, or something like that. Usually, tell stories of our past and etc. So I looked back into my shelves of games behind me, and I was like, oh, what game I haven't talked about yet that I could talk about? Maybe something a little bit more modern. And then I decided to talk about Uncharted 3, which
Oh.
I have right here. Naughty Dog's Uncharted 3 from 2011, released on the PS3. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this game is because the one piece of interesting Daniel trivia that I have about it is that I've never talked about here is that Uncharted 3 was actually my first Uncharted game.
Oh, what the? Oh, you're doing it wrong. God damn it. Okay.
And here's why. I just realized this would have been a good topic, Lewis, like about like playing game, like jumping into franchises midway and stuff like that, like whether you need to play like all the ones leading up to it. Like can you play Final Fantasy 7 remake without playing the original? Can you play Final Fantasy 7 without playing 6? All of that stuff, right? But
Can you play
the
Halo
truth
Infinite
is,
without playing Halos 1 through 5
yeah,
or 4? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The truth is that although nowadays I feel like I try to make a point to more often than not lead up to a franchise that way. In 2011, I was like 17, and I didn't really care. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool big new game that's out. I wanna check it out." Like it got a 10 from IGN as you might remember. It was one of those things where it was a bit of a controversial 10 because a lot of people didn't like it as much as Uncharted 2. But I was like, "Oh, that's one of the games of the year. It's like a game of the year contender. I want to play it, especially because 2011 was when I started going to college for game development, and because of that, I was surrounded by a lot of people that were playing games and excited about games, and I was actually kind of involved in that hype for console gaming, at least for the first time in my life that I didn't have that before. Like before, usually, my friends and me were playing free to play PC games and stuff like that, and I would play console games, but it was like the environment was different. So that year I played, Portal 2 came out and I played that, and Arkham City came out and I played that, Scarred Sword came out and I played that, and then Uncharted 3 came out and I was like, I have to play it. And I picked it up and I fucking loved it. With no context of the story leading up to it, not knowing anything else, I just had such a great time with it. I loved all the set pieces, all the animations, like all the cinematics in the game. Like this game, I felt like it was just like action after action, the way that every scene led to the next and all the different chapters. And I played it and I beat it, and I fell in love with the franchise through its, at the time, last entry, to the point where after that I went and I purchased the other two, and then I went back and I played Uncharted 1 and I played Uncharted 2, and I filled in the gaps, and then I even played Golden Abyss when that came out on the Vita, and I played Uncharted 4 when that came out. So I guess my story is simply the fact that it was a franchise that I initiated at a very weird point.
Presumably, it's
Um,
peak at that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was interesting to go back then and like play Uncharted 1, which kind of sucks
I
in
know, yeah.
comparison. I like
I was
um
gonna say like was it Drake's Deception, or no, not Deception? It was Drake's Fortune.
Drake's Fortune.
Drake's
Yeah,
Fortune.
it's
Yeah,
Fortune, Among Thieves, then Deception,
yeah.
then, which is kind of weird to me that they have like two of the games like subtitles start with Drake's. It almost makes you think that they should all be Drake's something,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But
but anyway,
what's interesting about that, like the PS, the first entry in the series, is that I'm glad I played it in order because I actually liked Uncharted 1, and then I
mhm,
played Uncharted 2, and then I re-scored it downwards, like
yeah,
I adjusted its score in my head down because of what the sequel did, and now it's like a bad game in my book, and or not a bad game per se, but like bad in the Uncharted rubric.
mhm.
Yeah.
And for the record, by the way, because I played Uncharted 3 first, I went back and I played then 1, and I was like, okay, well, this game, it's like it's okay. Like it's not bad, but it's like comparatively, it's like not nearly as good. And then I played 2, and I still really like 2, right? Like 2 held up. However, I can't really, like, if I'm being completely honest here, I can't sit here and say that 2 is better than 3 to me, because, and I'll tell you why. And here's the thing, I will give this to people that played it in order. I understand it. And even when we did our top games of whatever, like top games of the 2010s, I voted Uncharted 2 as well because I knew that's the one you would pick. um but ultimately, like, Uncharted 3, like, they took Uncharted 2 and made it better. It's like it's an evolution of the franchise. So when you go back, it looks like the game Uncharted 2, in comparison, if you go like from 3 to 2, Uncharted 2 looks worse. It's a little bit less polished. Like you can see a little bit more of the seams when compared to like having just played 3. So
Mm.
because of that, I feel like it's one of those things where had I played it in order, I would probably agree with the general opinion, but having played 3 first, to me, that feels like the best Uncharted.
I will
Um,
say visually, it's the best one, and combat wise, it's way more refined.
mhm,
The thing that sets two for me is the two had better action set pieces than three.
mm,
Um, so like it had all like the memorable ones and stuff like that, and it felt like when it came to Uncharted 4, they were doing the homages, and they were doing more homages to 2 than they were
mhm.
3. So that's the only thing that for
How do you
me.
feel?
Uh,
I don't think we talked about this yet, but we might have. How do you feel about Uncharted 4? How do you think that ranks in the series?
um, the second to worst. I would say like if I
Yeah,
were to include Vita, I would say the third. Maybe I would say like
yeah,
two,
yeah.
then three, then 4, then Vita, then 1.
I think I would rank them almost the same as you do, just maybe flipping 2 and 3, like I said. But like I felt like Uncharted 4, like for as much hype as it had leading up to it, and for as beautiful as that game looked, at the time, it was like we had never seen something look that good in a game before. I felt like the story and the set pieces and it didn't feel as good as Uncharted 2 and 3 in my opinion. It was like it was a step. It was almost like a significant step below to me.
Yeah, they shouldn't have
Um,
put they shouldn't have fired Amy Hennig. Those bastards.
did they fire her or did she quit? I thought she quit,
Actually, I
but
think she might have quit. But
it, I,
there was somebody else. Like, not was it Bruce Straley? I don't know. But there was somebody that Amy Hennig was
mhm,
like partnered with, and
yeah.
they left him in charge. But then I think he got ousted. Like, I think he quit
Mhm,
like publicly, but he got like ousted from the company.
mm,
With some
interesting.
like what is it? Some Game of Thrones like corporate dynamics of like power struggle kind of stuff
Hmm.
that people don't publicly say and they're very hush hush about. Um,
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
it's very interesting to hear like the things that Amy Hennig said after leaving Naughty Dog. Because I remember she was basically like, "Oh, like I loved working there and I made great stuff, but I also had to give up my life." Like basically,
Yeah,
is what she would say. So I think she could also have left because of those reasons. But anyway, not to get into negative stuff. This is supposed to be a positive segment. Uncharted 3, I think it's an excellent game. I bet it still holds up. I kind of want to go and play it again, as
play
well
it
as the
on
other
the
Uncharted games.
play it on the
Yeah.
PS4 through the Legacy Collection. I
Yes.
would also add to it that for me, I played the entire franchise in a month. I did 4 weekends
Oh,
in a row, where
really?
the first weekend Uncharted 1, the second weekend Uncharted 2, and then like I did it with 1, 2, 3, and I think I did Vita as well, like on the fourth weekend because I think that was the release order, so I played it as such. Which Vita, whatever. But I
When did you do this?
this was in after the PS4 was already out. This is before the Legacy Collection was announced, and so
Oh,
I played them all on the PS3 with the original hardware. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, with
All
the
right.
L1 and
Cool.
R1 shooting, not the triggers, because the PS3 triggers sucked ass.
Cool
uh,
stuff. All right, so that's it. That's been a great show today. We did a lot of cool segments. It is time to have Lewis play the sound effect so that we can end it. It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at readyplaynetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Dead and Lima and Lewis.
Chocolaka88.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. See you next time. Bye bye.
Peace.